Welcome back to Credentialing Chronicles, where we spill the doctor's tea hotter than your morning coffee.
And give you the insider scoop on the wild worlds of credentialing, provider drama, and everything they don't teach you in med school.
I'm Shannen, and she's Nyleen, two credentialing pros with front row seats to the chaos, looking to make you a part of it. Yes, we want you to engage in spilling this tea with us. We need your love and likes, and we want to know what you think too. Look for us, please, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and yes, baby, even TikTok.
Yes, we love to see your love. From fraud scandals to burnout breakdowns and why your favorite surgeon might actually be banned from 5 hospitals.
Honey, we've got the gossip and the practical advice to keep you out of trouble and ahead of the game.
So grab your coffee, your compliance checklist, and maybe a lawyer, and let's get into it.
Welcome back to Credentialing Chronicles, the place where we spill the tea on the doctors you see. Hey, Nyleen.
Hey, Shannen. I heard you have such a sweet story to tell our listeners.
Oh, you know what happened? I'm still in the ripple effects from NAMS, going there and just meeting everybody. Are you still feeling some of that love?
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to recuperate weeks later.
And then you hit the next one and the next conference. You just a conference hopper.
I know. I'm sorry I kept you working in the background while I was just out frolicking. She's over here writing all our episodes. I'm like, oh, man.
No worries at all. Okay, so yeah, I want to tell you this story about what happened. I can't wait to tell you. When it happened, I thought, ooh, this might be the perfect episode, when something kind of happens like that. So Amaya and I were in, my daughter, my assistant, my little Nepo baby, and we're riding in the Uber going back to the house after the live MD staff party. And I was trying to give everybody I had met a Credentialing Chronicle card, so I'm like, even this Uber driver, he is about to get one. Okay. So we're telling him about the podcast and we're talking and And so he's like, you mean you actually talk about how doctors, do things wrong, about how they hurt people or about how they get paid from big pharma? And I'm like, what? I'm like, we talk about fraud and wrongdoings and all kind of things like that. I mean, that's what we talk about. And then I'm like, if the story's juicy enough, well, honey, that's all I had to say because he done laid it into me.
He said he had a juicy, he was trying to spill some tea.
Honey, he was spilling tea. He didn't even know he was doing it. I was like, okay. So we just sat for 40 minutes in traffic listening to him and his story. But it goes a little something like this. And then I know we had talked about it a little bit. And you have a lot of information for us. So, this is actually going to turn into a great episode for our listeners. So what he started to tell me was that this doctor, his father had some problems with his heart or something like that. It was having some issues. And this doctor put him on some new medication. And it wasn't even approved yet. It was more like maybe like an experimental phase or something, and that he was on this medication and he started to feel better for a little bit. And then he started to get really sick really fast. Yeah. And so when he's going to the doctor and he's telling his doctor.
That's so scary.
It's so scary because the doctor not one time was like, maybe we should change your medicine. Maybe this isn't the perfect thing. He just had him kept taking this medicine, adding other medicines on, changing the diet. I mean, he had him doing maybe a couple of hula hoop lessons during the day. I don't know. It was all these other things except actually, getting off of this medicine. And so what ended up happening, Nyleen, is his father passed away.
Stop it.
Girl, 18 months.
In 18 months?
Yes, girl. And son, mom, other son, they pissed.
I would be too.
Because dad was happy. Dad was singing. Dad just had a little problem. He wasn't really sick, Well, girl, they done went on this rabbit hole just like you be going.
They started doing research on that medicine.
On everything, girl. They started finding out about how the medicine wasn't approved, how the doctor was getting money to give people this medicine.
Stop it. No. How did they? Oh, we have to expose how you can find that information out, because that is crazy.
Nyleen, I was floored. I was like, honey, I felt like, Nyleen, we got out the car. I felt like I had a therapy session. I felt like I was Dr. Ruth and we had just unpacked his father's death. And he had needed to talk about this story, honey, for the last 5 years, because it had been like 5 years since this has happened.
I hope he listens to this episode.
I hope he does too.
Your credentialing solution. In a busy hospital, time is of the essence. But what happens when your credentialing staff is short-staffed and overwhelmed? AQC is your trusted credentialing verification organization. They provide credentialing, contracting, and monitoring services for hospitals, surgery centers, and clinics nationwide. With AQC, you can say goodbye to the stress and uncertainty of credentialing. AQC, your solution for continuous compliance and credentialing verification. For more information, contact us, www.aqccvo.com.
So it seems like that ride ended with him asking, how would someone even check that? And that's really what we're going to talk about today, and how patients can see who's getting paid what to promote what, right? Paperwork meets accountability.
Welcome to Credentialing Chronicles, because that's what we're talking about today, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what did it do for you?
Yeah, I mean, really, it sent me down a path, because I'm thinking, the Physician Payment Sunshine Act is what I found out just kind of going through this. And it's part of the Affordable Care Act in 2010. It requires drug and device companies to report any payments that they make to doctors, and not even just payments, Nyleen. Also, if they give free lunches, if they give research grants, any type of gift or monetary exchange.
Right. So when those reps come and make you sign in on a sheet for lunch, it's because there's a monetary amount attached to what they spent. So girl, we used to get like Carrabba's, and we used to get like Italian restaurant. Girl, we're getting Chick-fil-A, like the cheapest item on the menu now. Yes. Oh, over the years, especially after the Affordable Care Act, we used to get nice lunches and dinners and all this stuff in the healthcare field. And lately, like as the years have progressed, it's like gotten cheaper and cheaper. Like you might get a cookie, right? And so
a couple of crumble cookies. They're like, here you go.
Those are the expensive ones. So yeah, that's a good rep. Girl, you might get the Publix ones.
Oh my goodness.
Ones.
So they do that. Why? To show that they're not like they're giving you cheap cookies to not bribe you, or they're bribing you with cheap cookies?
Yeah, because there's a monetary number that they have to disclose, right? So those numbers go to a public site run by CMS, and it's called OpenPaymentsData.cms.gov. And we're going to tag that at the show notes, because I think it's a really important website all credentialers should use. Now, at the hospitals that I've worked at, it's part of our checklist. Like it's a part of our credentialing checklist to check open payments data. So it's really interesting because it shows exactly how much money a doctor got, and from which company, and for what reason they got paid from that company. So while a lot of patients may say, oh, I'm sure that the doctor gets a cut because of this, sometimes it's true, but sometimes it's not. So this is a really good tool anybody can use.
Again, public, because we're all about educating patients so that they don't turn into victims, And this is the ultimate receipt file. So anything, like Nyleen is saying, the Chick-fil-A that needs to go there will be disclosed on that list, right?
Right. Exactly. So, and it's run by CMS, Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services. Yeah. So they built the database. So patients, journalists, doctors, hospitals, credentialing teams could really track the financial relationship between a healthcare provider and the industry. think of it as like a transparency side of medicine.
Which is very good. I mean, it's not just numbers, you all. The site lets you filter by the year, by the company, even by the drug name, which if my Uber driver would have known this, he would have been able to see this. And even by the payment type. And so, payment type meaning a lunch, all the way up to $1 million grant that might be given for research, right? I mean, so it's anything in between that. Even the cheap Publix cookies, right?
So if you guys want, pause the episode, hurry up, go to Open Payments Data.
And check your doctor.
Check your doctor. Like, go
check your doctor. And then comment below if you love what we do and tell us, oh my God, I found my doctor. Oh my God, I didn't find my doctor, thank God. Or, oh my God, I was given a drug last week and it's on this list. Could you imagine if we save somebody from that? That would be incredible.
Wow, that is crazy. So is there an example of like a doctor that you can talk about?
I mean, there was a cardiologist in Florida with over $1 million in consulting fees from a stent manufacturer, and then became the top prescriber of that stent in his region.
Of course, Florida. Why we got to talk about Florida?
But again? What does that mean, Nyleen? What does that mean?
It means that he had got some type of kickback for using that particular device in someone's heart. And so if he kept using that same thing. Now, don't get me wrong, physicians always have a preference, but you should have a preference because you like the way the device or the system or the stent or the product works, not because that company is giving you a kickback for every time you use that product.
And it's not even the stent, it's the statin. What is it called? The statin?
The drug.
The drug. Yeah, sorry. And I said the stent. See, this is why I never went to medical school, y'all, because I've been all messed up. But the stantin, whatever that drug is the one that hurt my Uber's driver's daddy. It was one of those drugs, the new one. And again, it's legally fine because it was reported, it was disclosed, but ethically, that's what we're digging into because of you, Mr. Uber driver in Portland. I mean, this episode, I have to say, is truly dedicated to you.
Okay, so how can you show me the money? Show me the money.
Well, I guess, like you said, let's pretend we're looking up Dr. Smith from Seattle. You go to Open Payments, you type in the name, and boom, and it shows every payment that Dr. Smith has ever been reported having been paid.
So I think if we use the name, it's probably better because it'll show like lunch, $32, honorarium, $5,000, travel, $1,200, and then you can start to see a pattern. And I found some doctors have minimal, like nothing, but it is a really big flag when you start seeing big numbers show up there.
Yeah, or, Pfizer pay this, Pfizer pay that, Pfizer pay that. You're like, oh, no, what is he doing with Pfizer? And like you said, travel, honorariums, sometimes, honey, some of these disclosures are big. And do you feel like it should be part of the credentialing file, Nyleen? I mean, I feel like it should.
I think it should. Like I told you, the hospitals I worked at, it was normal for us to make it part of the checklist, just so that the credentials committee kind of has aware that this doctor isn't just going to be pushing one thing. I mean, what if how great if they were like, hey, this doctor has received so much such payments, and now all of a sudden that's the only thing he's prescribing for our procedure in the OR. Like, kind of shady, right? So can we have a little explanation? Let's do a little educational area tip thing. We're gonna explain 3 payment categories: general payments, which is like meals, speaking fees, stuff like that, research, and then ownership interests. So general payments, what do general payments normally mean when they put that category in?
Well, it's money or value that's not really tied to research or an investment. So basically like your perks, your fees, your benefits, your lunches, your dinners, your travel. I mean, if those are paid by a drug or device company, those are kind of what you want to kind of look for, right? Is kind of general payments. And then also like consultant payments would fall under there, or, gifts, lodging, entertainment. And then, even event tickets, honey, if you get some Super Bowl tickets, that can and has happened.
Oh, for sure. Those were very popular for a while. And these are the payments that make people say, wait, my doctor's being paid to talk about that drug. They're the most visible form of influence, small, individually, but, they start adding up.
Greatly. Yeah, exactly. And then, I know research is one of your favorite things. So talk about what about the research payments and what do those mean?
So research payment means money connected to clinical trials, product testing, research projects, and these can go directly to a physician or to an institution on their behalf. So for example, funding for a clinical trial site, and then the physician as the lead investigator for that particular trial. Payment to cover patient care costs in a study, or grants to analyze data, publish findings, or run follow-up studies.
Which it seems like that's like legitimate and necessary for innovation, for pushing different, breakthroughs through, correct? I mean, that's what it seems like, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's good because, transparency here lets patients see who's researching what and for whom, and again, that's something that you all do want to know. It's important.
It is. And then that's actually one that I would say is probably the least of the red flags, right?
Me too.
Because that's actually trackable and findable, and you can see what the outcomes were of these trials, and a lot of them lead to great things. And then the third category is like ownership or investment interests. And so that's just when a doctor or their immediate family owns stock, equity, or other financial interests in a healthcare company, like a device manufacturer, a lab, a drug startup. Doctors do make investments in many companies because staying a doctor forever, it doesn't really pay anymore.
They get burned out. A lot of politics involved.
Yeah. So for example, surgeons, they could hold shares in a company that makes implants that they use, or a doctor who founded a med tech startup that sells it back to their own hospital. So there's a lot of different things to disclose there.
Yeah, they're usually long-term financial relationships. Even if no payment really happens that year, the profits, the dividends can influence decision-making. And so it's about who benefits when you prescribe, refer, or purchase that, device or whatever has been discovered or invented.
This episode of Credentialing Chronicles is sponsored by MedElevate Solutions, your partner in turning healthcare chaos into operational clarity. With deep expertise in ASC, hospital, or physician office operations, clinical workflows, and compliance, their team helps you work smarter, not harder. Learn more at MedElevateSolutions.com. Simplifying processes, amplifying outcomes, one facility at a time.
Another little story, that we have and that we could kind of just maybe help people see how this would happen is, a mom emailed us that her kids, her child has ADHD, and her child's ADHD med was switched to a brand new medicine. And so she looked up the doctor and found that $8,000 in speaker fees from the same company had been, provided to that doctor. And suddenly she understood, why the recommendation was, why the medication was switched, and she's like, oh, maybe these two are tied together. And so that's something that if you're in a situation, you can use this as a resource just as a person in the public.
Wow, that is amazing that patients are using this information. And I really hope you guys stop and go to the website, search the doctor, right? Because these are such good stories. Like a patient who used the site to find a doctor with no pharma ties for a second opinion, maybe on an expensive biologic or a different drug that they were prescribing. Hey, I need to go get a second opinion. There is nothing wrong with you getting a second opinion on if a doctor tries to prescribe a new drug or not. On everything. And, my first physician that I worked for directly, not the hospital, but the doctor, he was an older physician. And he said to me, I never prescribe a drug that's new on the market. Never. Because I want to see what happens to patients. I want to see the trials. I want to see the studies. And so that was the markings of a physician. He goes, some of these drugs have been out for a long time, but I already know how they work. And I know what they will do and what they won't do. So it's always interesting if there's a new drug on the market. Like, do we really want to be the first ones to try it out? It's just something to think about and research that doctor if they're so quick to prescribe.
Mm-hmm. And you need to say that again for the people in the back, Miss Nyleen. And some physicians, it's good, can even use open payments proactively, and they can show patients their page to build trust. And that's really the move. I mean, that's, if it's not saying that if you take payments, that's a bad thing, but I took payments from here and this is why, because this and that. That's good. But if, again, like we're saying, if you see that your doctor's taking Pfizer payments or another company and all these payments are coming from this company, it's just something that you need to sit back and think about and say, when I meet with my doctor the next time, I'd like to talk about this, educate yourself.
So MSPs, we should leverage this in credentialing, no?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, we own a AQC, a CVO. And so I was thinking that I was going to even put it on our checklist after I met Mr. Portland, Oregon, because I thought, well, why wouldn't my clients want this? This is great information. And it's probably something else that nobody else is giving to them.
And as an organization, so as someone who does actively work with hospitals and surgery centers, do we not want conflict of interest notifications on our physician owners, for example, at surgery centers, or our physicians that work at our hospital that are using certain devices or certain items more than others? It's a great form. We all have to sign conflicts of interest once we associate ourselves with an organization. So this is a great tool that can be used to leverage this. So I'm saying implement this in your facilities, in your surgery centers, in your credentialing processes. Now, why not? It's just a Google search pretty much to a website. We're giving it to you. It's on our thing. We're going to add it to our website. Like, we need you guys to start using it.
Yeah, because sometimes payments fund legitimate research, and that is amazing, and that's what we want. But sometimes they're marketing in disguise.
Yeah, Shannon. So you know what happened? Well, I went ahead and I looked up a local dermatologist. And he had $250 in educational materials, but then $6,000 in speaker fees. So where's the line between education and then endorsement, right? Because I speak all over the United States. And I don't get 6K, but I know that my doctor just went with me and he doesn't get 6K. So I'm like, we might get a little bit of reimbursement for our travel. We might get a free conference. We may get an honorarium of some sort, but not $6,000.
Yeah, it's a very thin line, right? It's a very thin line, like you said, between education and then endorsement, right? Okay, well, I feel like we talked about so much in this episode today, don't you?
Too much.
I'm just like, wow.
I think we're teaching a lot too. I mean, how exciting if somebody actually changed their process. Oh my goodness. How happy for our Uber driver.
I know. And Mr. Portland, Oregon Uber driver, this episode is for you. You're going to help a lot of people. But if you do add this on your checklist of items, okay, comment and let us know, like, share, and tell other people, hey, I'm changing this process because I think it's a great, conflict of interest capture, a great way to really kind of round out your knowledge of your provider and who that person is. And so I guess, what do we say? If you take one thing from this episode, right, it's this, right? You can look it up. Open Payments is free and public. Knowledge is your protection, right?
Yep, doctors can be amazing, but accountability is part of trust. Before you fill that prescription, ask yourself, who's getting paid or who got paid?
Who got paid? I have to say that so when they do the, the social media, they can say, who got paid?
Ooh, I like that. And then we'll do open payments.
I know, open payments.
CMS.
Open Payments Data. Okay, remember, if you ever want to see where the money flows, visit OpenPaymentsData.cms.gov. And this is straight from CMS, which is the Center for Medicaid Medicare Services. There's no login, there's no cost, and it's just transparency.
So follow Credentialing Chronicles for more stories that hit home, practical advice, and places to find out the tea on your doctors, because what you don't know about your doctor can actually hurt you.
Can't hurt y'all. And really, paperwork meets truth. And that's what we want to be able to constantly say about Credentialing Chronicles, is that we're helping you guys out there. Until next time.
Like, follow, and subscribe.
Woo, that was a whole lot of tea. Who knew doctors had more drama than reality TV?
And if you think that was wild, just wait till next week. We've got more stories, more scandals, and more credentialing chaos coming your way.
And if you love the tea, please don't keep it to yourself. Like to show us you're listening. Please comment and join the conversation, and follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, share so everyone else can sip with us.
Yeah, so see you next time on Credentialing Chronicles. Stay credentialed, not canceled.